be presented by Dr. Hussein Qasim from the Beirut Arab University. Dr. Qasim is currently Assistant Professor at the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at BAU. He holds a PhD and a BE degree in Civil Engineering from the American University of Beirut in 2017-2012 respectively. Dr. Qasim was awarded the Honorary Penrose Award in 2012, the Release National Council for Scientific Research Doctoral Scholarship in 2014, IBDAA Award for the Research category in 2010, Abdelhadi Dibs Award in 2018. His research and teaching experience includes pavement highway material testing and characterization, modeling of reliability and uncertainty, and sustainability. Please welcome Dr. Qasim.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today presenting to you our presentation entitled Engineering Student Retention and Graduation with Improvement Strategies, taking the case of Beirut Arab University as a case study. First of all, I would like to acknowledge my co-authors of whom I will be presenting on the behalf today, Dean Adel Kurdi, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, and Professor Subhi Abu Shaheen, the Dean of Student Affairs at BAU, who couldn't make it with us today. So to start with, I will give a short introduction about the higher education system in Lebanon, of which we are part of. Typically, the higher education system in Lebanon is considered to be a good system as compared with other areas around the world. So this role plays a significant role in the improvement of individual lives and the enrichment of society, not only in Lebanon but in the region, in the countries of the Middle East and North Africa, and even on a global perspective. This system was composed originally of few private universities and one public university, which is the Lebanese University, where after the 1990s and after the Civil War, as mentioned in many reports, we can say that the universities in Lebanon has mushroomed, where there has been a lot of licenses that are given, and now we have more than 50 institutions which are competing or which are playing a role in educating undergraduate students. So the major characteristic of this system is its liberal education and the variety of majors that are being provided, as you all know, satisfying the needs of the Lebanese and the regional market. This system has a unique property that it is patterned by various models. So we can see that there are American universities, French universities, German universities, Canadian universities, and so on. So therefore we have a variety and we have a diversity in the system. Although all these universities are direct, or even colleges, I would call them institutions, are directed by the General Director of Education, and they are protected by the Lebanese Constitution. However, this diversity needs to be unified somewhere, and thus we are, I think, here today, as it is recognized by everyone that there is a need for a quality assurance system that unifies the outcome or the product or the students who are graduating from these universities. So zooming in into engineering programs, we have around 20 institutions today housing 20,000 undergraduate students only in engineering. And in light with that, we are establishing that there's a need to have a quality assurance system in the Lebanese higher education system. This has been a priority in order to address the dynamics of this system, especially with the need for modernization, employability, mobility, lifelong learning, and so on. In light with that, and in parallel with that, there is a global need or a global attention towards the retention and graduation of students. So retention and graduation nowadays are gaining a momentum. So these are key performance indicators that can be used and considered as key factors for assessment of the performance of universities in general and the quality of the various educational programs. So nowadays, there should be more attention towards two key KPIs, key performance indicators, that are not to be considered solely as quality measures, however, to be considered as KPIs that can be in support with the quality assurance practices. Just to start with the definition, for those who are not familiar with that, so the retention rate is the percentage of the school's first-time or undergraduate or sophomores, the first-year undergraduate students who continue their education in the second year. However, the graduation rate is the percentage of the school's first-time or sophomore students who complete their program within 150% of the published time for that program. So therefore, these two rates are needed as measures of higher educational effectiveness. They can be used as a tool for decision making in educational institutions, educational stakeholders. And nowadays it's important, and this should be part of our culture, that they should be used as measures for parents, for students, in order to select the university or the program in which they need to be enrolled. So in parallel with the title of this session, so this is related to data. So such data should be more public. People should be more familiar with these rates, and in order to be used in our culture for students before selecting the universities, especially with the competition that we have in the Lebanese market. So monitoring and following of this rate is becoming a necessity. On an institution perspective, it's needed for the improvement of the academic performance of the student. So it could be considered as a measure to assess the achievements of a certain student. It is needed for the development of competent graduates. It is needed also to increase the number of enrollment, as I just mentioned, and it's a factor, as you all know, all institutions nowadays have problems, financial problems, especially with the financial problems in the region and the country. So they are needed to be monitored, if there's any problem to be addressed, to have a stabilized financial situation of the institution. Therefore, when that's stabilized, the resources of the institution can be used to extend certain programs, to pay more efforts on having new programs, and as well to have more resources for quality assurance process. However, one point we should like to highlight here, that these are KPIs. They can be used as indicators representing the quality perceived as per students' educational experience, but they can't be considered as a sole quality indicator for a given problem or program. And here is the problem. So we can't take although we are highlighting their importance, they can't be considered as the only performance or the only quality assurance indicators. I will give an example. If I have a university with high retention, this can mean two things. One thing, that the quality assurance practices, the performance is great, so students are satisfied and continuing their education. That's the good part. However, I can analyze it in a different manner. I could have an institution with high retention rate. However, the students are there because the quality is not perfect. Everything is easy go. Everything can be achieved easily, so students are continuing their education and enrolled based on that. So when analyzing these rates, we should take attention for this specific point. So taking our case at BAU, and it's the case as any other faculty of engineering in Lebanon or in the region, our role is not only to attract students to pursue their undergraduate education. We don't just to increase the enrollment. However, we need to set as a goal the task of retaining and graduating students on time, and that should be not only a goal for engineering education, but for universities in general. Therefore, we have recently paid an effort on analyzing that, to study that, to assess the strategies that are needed on that aspect. So taking our case, for example, the Faculty of Engineering now at BAU accounts for approximately 15% of the undergraduate students in engineering in Lebanon in general. Typically, we are analyzing, we have two campuses, one in Dibbi and one in Tripoli. So our analysis is here presenting a combined analysis for the two campuses. We can see that in 2012 till now, we have a retention rate that's varying between 80 and 90%. It was 90% early in 2012. It has dropped and then continued to be at a certain asymptote of 80%. So this rate could be considered to be acceptable. According to the American Society of Engineering Education, a 70% retention rate is acceptable. So we can say that we're doing well. However, the factors will differ, especially that the reasons for retention, the reasons why students are not persistent or the students are not enrolled in the second year could differ from one country to another. So there is more important factor related to data that we are working on recently. We need to enhance our databases to include not only statistics, but we need to contain statistics why students are not enrolled in the second year, why students are late to be graduating, and upon that we can select a certain strategy that will be in parallel of our quality assurance practices to ensure that the retention and graduation rate are good. On the other side, for example, the graduation rate recently, it has been around 70%. We had a drop from around 79% to 71%, and that's continuing to be consistent. This is considered to be acceptable. We have set a target of 90%, so we should have a strategy in order to work on that, to understand the reasons and achieve that target. So we have some statistics. Statistics are not enough. We need to have a strategy. And the goal of any strategy could be that a retained student is an engaged student. So retention as well as graduation are a reflection of the experience of the student within a university, within a program, within a faculty. Therefore, this boldly requires that students should be academically and socially engaged in the contents of the university life. So when we need to talk about retention, we need to talk about the graduation, we are talking about the achievement, about the success of student, as well as how we are making that student to be an engaged person, how we are making that student to be involved on what's around, and so on. So for any strategy, there are 4 pillars that serve as the basic. So success is a moving target. And the main point of that pillar, that if I'm analyzing the retention of students nowadays, the problems are not the same. So every student could have a problem from one year to other, from one semester to another. So this requires a continuous advising, a continuous monitoring of students to understand the reasons such that to act upon. Success requires engagement, as I just explained. Success entails academic achievement. So if a student is failing, then the student will leave. So I need to provide extra assistance. I don't want to make the assignments or the exams to be easier, no. But I need to provide the student with more resources, with more help outside the classroom, more advising, and so on. And success must be measured. And that point is the most important. We need to have data. We need to have continuous collection of data and databases that would serve as a key for any strategy to be proposed. So any strategy needs to address the student's life cycle from the day he or she thinks to check the registration in a certain or enrollment in a certain university, through the registration process until the classroom, until graduation. So we need to analyze the life cycle. We need to address or target the student's university life. We don't want students to come as if just come to the class and go back home. No. So we need to work on the skills of the student, and this will make the student more retained and more a higher achiever. And there should be, as I mentioned, a continuous collection of data to serve as the basis for any future strategy. So some recommendations, each of these points could be a strategy by itself, it needs study. So we suggest, and we're working on these general items, enhancement of orientation programs. So we need to properly welcome the student, introduce them to the university life. We need to account for the differences they have between their school life and what's the university, and so on. We need a system that monitors the student registration. So we need a continuous advising system every semester. I want why the student, if I have a certain course plan, why the student is not registering the courses as they are planned. So advisors here play a great role. The advisors should pay more attention to the students on a basis of each semester. we are suggesting to have an automated contact system with the students. For example, if the student is doing well at the end of the semester, I send him an automated email that congrats, you're doing well, you have an improvement in your GPA. If the GPA has dropped down, we are suggesting to have an email also automated that your GPA has dropped, please pass by the advisor or the faculty so that we can assist you and so on, so that the student can feel that there's somebody is monitoring him or her. Another point is continuous improvement in the quality of all services that the student could need or use in the university. We need effective student centers with professional coaching services, and this is very important, especially in our societies. Coaching is still a new idea. Some people think that having a coach or having a consulting somebody is a problem. However, we should introduce the culture that no, it's not a problem, it's something normal, so that to check what are the problems of the student and try to help them. Enhancement of students' activities and clubs, continuous evaluation and improvement of student services. We need new teaching policies, as the previous presentations has introduced. We can have introduction to engineering at the first year to check if that student is okay with the major or he's not knowing what's the major about and so on. We are suggesting to provide extra assistance to students outside the class. We can have centers inside the university, like writing centers, like tutoring centers for free by staff of the university to provide extra help, extra assistance. And for sure, the last point, and the reason in our region for low retention is financial problems. So we can initiate work-study programs, work on the financial aids and scholarships and so on. So finally, I would like to conclude that the study of retention and graduation rates should be taken in consideration as part of the efforts of any universities toward quality assurance practices. In Lebanon, maybe this is not of high interest, so we should work on this. We should have the data published and we should encourage parents to deal with such data before their students get enrolled in any university and so on. I will conclude by this remark. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm ready at the end for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Qasim. Our next presentation is entitled From Basic Principles to Applications, the Story of Magnetics in a High School Setting, presented